Yes, you can do a perception roll.
20.
This thing is not alive. This thing is not a beholder. Whatever this is made of rock. And whatever is reflecting is looks like just shiny slate.
Thank goodness. Thank the gods it's not a beholder.
Skaith, you're standing kind of to the side of it. Ivor, you're still out in front of it.
Since it's looking at Skaith, can I get close and personal and try and figure out what it is?
Yes, you get up close to it as well. Skaith, with that 20, you also notice behind it, kind of further into the cave, are two more of those little floating figures.
Uh,
Ivory, you get up close enough practically to touch it. You can tell this thing is made of rock.
Do I notice anything else about it?
No, this entire thing looks to be just a smooth mass of rock with some shiny slate, making it like a false beholder of some kind.
so then let's just keep moving past it. Maybe it's to scare off things.
Yeah, I just kind of walk around it to Skaith.
Both of you just successfully just kind of walk around this thing. As as easily as it appeared, it kind of just disappears into the fog. It doesn't seem to have gone anywhere, it just vanishes. You now can see further into the cave that the fog lifts from inside the cave, and these two figures are clearly seen. Two ghostly like figures, female in form, shrouded in a dark cloak of some kind, both holding some sort of pipe, fife like instrument. They're just kind of hovering above you, kind of just examining you, looking at you, making sense of you.
I want to do a perception check, see if I know, not, well, not perception, but intelligence check, see if I know anything about these two.
Okay, go for it.
13.
Alright, you haven't encountered one before, but you believe this is a let's see, what's the proper terminology to use? Let's say you believe these things are probably of some sort of illusionist. Not quite a mage, but these things are not quite spectral, but they might possibly be undead. You've heard tell of stories of crypt chanters, of these sirens that would hang around graveyards and tombs with their magic instruments that would basically be of actual sirens and try and call people to their doom.
Okay. Can we try and press on?
They are kind of hovering ahead of you. You believe if you were to walk straight, you would bump into them, but they are hovering off the ground and still just kind of looking at you in very kind of puzzled look. But you believe I mean, there's enough room to walk around them, certainly.
I voice to them that we simply want to get through to the other side and start walking while I say this.
They kind of just stare at you, still unsure of what to make of you. A voice seems to resonate out of thin air. You do not like visitors. You do not allow people to pass through.
I ask why.
It's a long, tense moment before you receive an answer. But another voice comes just out of the air surrounding you, kind of echoes in the cavern. Many meet their doom on these treacherous terrain. We wish to keep everyone safe. Go back.
Have you ever considered, instead of driving people away, to guide them through?
Another long pause. We are not guides. That's all you get.
Well, we choose to pass through.
Another long, quiet moment before you're met with the words that resonate in both your ears. Then you will die.
Well, then that's our choice, don't you think?
We move forward.
Another long pause before you're met with, but it is ours. Roll initiative.
15.
Okay?
16.
Alright. Ivory, you see these two things kind of just hover a little bit higher up out of your reach and instantly take to their instruments and start shrilling that horrible, just utteral noise again. As you hear on either side of you, you can easily see skeletons forming from the bones on the ground. You are met with 4 skeletons, 2 on either side. They appear to be wielding old armor and weapons, similar to what you've encountered before.
Since I have my little obsidian gauntlets on, I want to take a swing at one of them and see what they do.
Okay, roll it.
$11.
Not enough. You actually miss. As this thing seems to be allude to show that maybe this thing isn't just an animate skeleton. This thing might actually have some intelligence to it. Anything else you would like to do before Skaith continues? Do you want to try and go for a second swing or something? As you utterly
Yeah, go for a
missed.
second swing.
Alright, you try to rebound the same one. Roll it. 16. You crack this thing right in the jaw. This thing actually obliterates. Bones go flying across the entire cave as this thing just explodes from your impact with these gauntlets. Skeleton is no more. Skaith!
I want to try and use the cutlass and slash straight through one of them.
Okay, there's a skeleton to the right with Ivory. I mean, to the left with Ivory, and there's 2 to the right.
I want to try and focus on one of mine.
On one of the one to the right, I guess?
Yeah, on one of the ones to the right.
Okay, how do you want to do? Do you want to slice? Do you want to stab? What do you think?
Cutlasses are used for slicing. I slice.
Okay, we'll roll it.
11.
Alright, not enough. You actually miss. Alright. These 2 chanters will once again harp away on their instruments. It is getting very irritating at this point, just an unpleasant sound in general. The first one will actually conjure up a new skeleton. From the one you have obliterated, you see it meticulously pieced back together. The second one will just sit there and try and drive you guys nuts with its horrible noise. Ivory, go.
to throw an explosive at the one making all the racket.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, okay, roll to actually hit it. Make contact.
17.
Good enough. Now give me a roll to see if you've timed it correctly. Or is this explode
17.
on impact?
17.
That did not answer my question.
What did you say?
Does it explode on impact?
Are these timed
Yes.
bombs?
Impact bombs.
Okay, fair enough. 17 will still do it. This thing blows up as soon you just huck an explosive at it. This thing explodes. The fife or instrument in its hand actually blows into pieces and clatters in small little specks of wood on the ground. This thing looks physically undamaged, but the instrument is no longer making this god-awful noise.
That was the intention.
The chanter does not appear to be pleased by this.
I look at Ivory. I look at Skate. I think I made it mad.
Anything else? I'll count that as a minor
I'll go
action.
ahead and try to obliterate one of the skeletons again.
The same one or the fresh one?
I'll go for another one.
Alright, roll it.
19!
Alright, you smack this thing square in the face. It explodes just as the first one did. Skaith?
I'm going to take a quick flip through the spell book and see if there's any holy spells.
Alright. Do you continue from where you left off, or do you start over?
I continue from where I left off.
Alright. Daze. Ghost Sound. Mending. Magic Missile. Web. Gust of Wind. Command the Undead. Lightning.
That one!
Command the Undead, I'm guessing.
I want to turn the skeletons against the...
Alright, you believe you can only target one of these things. What do you aim?
Then I target one to act as a bony shield.
Alright, give me a roll. See how well this works.
4.
Alright, you are able to cast a hypnotic trance on one of these skeletons in front of you, and it appears to be under your will. What would you do? Have it do?
I want it to try and knock away or destroy the other fife.
Alright, this skeleton will lazily kind of saunter over and try and reach up, zombie-like, trying to grab at this floating spectral woman that is obviously out of his reach. He's just trying to grasp at her feet. Doesn't seem to be doing an effective job.
Oh well.
Alright. Ivory? Does a 13 hit your AC?
What?
Does a 13 hit your armor class? Yes.
No, my armor class is 15.
Oh, right.
Okay, so a miss. Alright. Skaith, 15.
That hits.
Alright, the skeleton will swing its sword at you. It will hit you square in the shoulder for a nice 20 damage. This uninstrumented siren will actually retreat farther back into the cave. And the one with the instrument will resummon the exploded skeleton. There are now 4 again. Ivory.
Is there anything in particular about these skeletons, like gems or anything I can see controlling them?
As far as you can tell, they're just reanimated skeletons. They've got a few specks of armor on them, like they were actually a person of some kind. They mostly seem to be wielding a sword. One of them has a shield, but it's been blown apart. But they just have like a basic, like a chest plate or like a knee brace. Like minimal armor, not a full set or anything.
They're minions.
the still standing witch lady.
Okay, she is hovering just out of reach of the little skeleton dangling at her feet. She is still harping away on her little instrument.
I want to try and destroy her instrument as well.
Right, she's practically playing battle music. What would you like to do?
Well, since obviously I'm short, I'm gonna try and hit it with another explosive.
Okay. Roll it.
Cool. 18.
Alright, you instantly huck this explosive up and explodes, same as before. Her instrument goes to pieces. She retreats back into the darkness as well. Skaith.
I am going to just try and... First of all, I want to put the skeleton I have under control to rest.
Okay.
Just kind of unanimate him.
Okay. You easily believe you could dispel your little hypnosis there.
Yeah, I want to do that.
And you do so, and it turns back to you. You probably think back to attack. I'll count that as a minor action.
Yeah. And then I want to try and crush one of the other ones. Using the slash at him.
At the one you just dispelled, or the new one?
The new one.
Alright, roll it.
16.
Alright, you slice right through this. You get an entire arm to come off, as well as a few ribs. You've cleaved them almost vertically. The sword instantly glows a dark purple aura, as well as the skeleton you've just sliced glows a dark purple aura. You are instantly met with another 10 damage as this sword physically hurts you. But you see the skeleton, using its good arm, hold its head like it's now confused or in pain or something. It starts wandering about. Upon your magic studies, you believe that this sword has the ability to curse.
Joy! At the cost of my own health, I get to curse people.
Alright. Skeleton against Ivory will miss. Skeleton against Ivory crits with a 20. And will give you a good stab wound. Right in the gut. A good 25. Your dispelled little minion will try to gain himself, as he didn't roll hardly anything to do squat. And the cursed guy actually crits, but is cursed and will actually fall prone. Actually take 10... Well, no, he'll actually take another 20 damage for that curse. Ivory, you've just been almost gutted by a skeleton minion.
I'm gonna try and hit it.
Alright, roll it. You gotta beat a 12.
How's A12?
That will work. With the gauntlets as well, a good punch.
Yes.
Alright, it shatters into pieces. Skaith.
I am going to put this sword away. It is going to cause me more harm than good.
You sheath the rapier.
I am going to instead try and turn my ball of moss into a leaf blade of some sort. I want to turn it into a weapon.
Alright. I'll take a good 20 if you can pull this off successfully. Roll to hit. That'll be 12.
What am I rolling?
D20, you gotta hit the skeleton.
I've got a 13.
That will work. Which one do you aim for?
I aim for the cursed one, who's prone.
Alright, easy target. You instantly wheel out a huge, basically a vine with a leaf razor on the end, and try and cut into this thing with your magical ability. That's a good 20 mana off of you, as you're not weaned off of it yet. This skeleton the aura actually will reflect off of your vine that you just sliced through him. You reel back the vine. This aura turns green around the skeleton as this entire skeleton begins to harden like he's being petrified until he is literally a petrified skeleton. It just is frozen in place, prone on the ground. Alright. Ivory, a 14? No. Against
Nope.
you? Okay.
What?
Does a
And
14 hit you? No.
and a 15. Let's see here. Oh, sorry, that one's destroyed. Alright, Daniel, 15. Your dispelled friend will actually run over and slice into that same shoulder again. Another 20 damage. Ivory, from the top, take it home. Yeah, one skeleton left here and one attacking Skaith.
I'm going to attack the one attacking Skaith.
Okay, roll it.
12.
Alright, you, with the gauntlets,
Yes.
the thing goes to a million bony pieces.
I give him a health potion.
Give him a health potion. You had a full heal. Skaith, what is your health at?
It was at 30.
Alright, you are back up to 95. Alright, Skaith, there's one skeleton left.
Is my,
I believe, or am I miscounting?
yeah, no, you still got one left.
Okay, just...
Is my, Vine weapon still available, or will that cost more magic to use?
You believe that was very difficult for you to do and will probably cost more. From the few spells you have tried from that magic book, that didn't take any magic off of you.
I want to try and throw the fireball at him again.
Alright, you summon up the fireball again. But as you turn to the page, you realize that page is now blank. Or at least what you assume was that page.
They're one use only. Okay, I want to roll to see if I can remember the spell.
Okay, roll it. Wisdom or intelligence, whatever you think will help. I'll give that to you.
Probably wisdom, and I got an 18.
I'll give it to you. You believe you remember the spell.
Alright, I'm going to try and cast the spell.
Alright, you cast this ball of fire holding in your hands in front of you.
10.
No. You try and hurl it at the skeleton, but it just kind of lazily drifts out of your hands with not enough momentum. The skeleton just kind of steps around it. It just kind of bounces off the wall behind it and fizzles out. Skeleton will come at Skaith with a 7, a measly miss. Ivory, take it home.
I'm just gonna go ahead and try and obliterate the last skeleton.
Roll it.
12.
Alright, you shatter this thing to pieces. There are bits of bone everywhere. There's the few wooden fragments of the flute, or whatever it was, on the ground, and there's no sign of the chanters anymore. All is quiet.
Okay, then.
We'll start advancing toward advancing in the cave.
You start to make your way down the end of the cave. You get about maybe 20 more paces, and there's an obvious opening which appears to lead back outside. You make your way to the end of the cave without any issues or any evidence of any further encounters of any kind. And you're met with a similar sight of another flight of rocky, chiseled steps leading downwards to another small rickety bridge crossing another gap not too far from you.
I think this might actually be a decent place to set up camp and rest.
At this point, you realize it hasn't been longer than about half a day. You still suspect it's probably close to just about past the noonish hour in time of day, but it is overcast enough anyone could probably claim it were nighttime on the mountains here.
Well, then we should head down the stairs then.
Don't let me influence you, I'm just letting you know what time of day it is.
Oh, no problem.
Then you continue down the path and meet the same sort of bridge as before, crossing another large fissure in the ground, leading to another kind of more accepting greenish environment that leads into a small path to the woods or forest.
We cross the bridge.
In what manner?
Single file again.
Same time?
This time, why not?
You file across the bridge. It is the same style bridge as you crossed over to get through the mountains. You notice that the fog is quickly lifting as you pass over this bridge. No boards creak, all seems fine. You still get that same gust of wind as expected going through this little gorge. And you safely make your way through the little arches and pass back onto solid, soft, grassy ground. You meet a small little path and an empty sentry station similar to the one you stopped at prior to the pass. And you're met with a path that leads through the woods, through this forest. As far as you were given your map, you believe that this path should take you kind of upwards toward the north, and you will hit Showmore before long. It should be your next landmark.
Excellent.
You continue, I guess?
Yes.
You continue down the path. You are refreshed to hear the sounds of wildlife again. Birds chirping, actual sunlight. No more foul odors anymore. You walk down the path. It is a nice, cool, shadowy, canoped forest. Nothing's out of place. You spot a bird here and there. It's very peaceful. And you begin to hear some commotion of some birds, as sounds like something is scaring off a few birds in the local area. As you can look up and see some local wildlife kind of running away from a small section off the path you're crossing.
Okay. So what do we see?
As you advance up the path a little bit, you can kind of see towards where the animals were running from. You can faintly make out a large figure hidden in the trees, about the size of your friend Ildrad. This large, kind of grayish figure, kind of almost blended in through the forest trees. It seems to be doing something. It's making a lot of noise, and you can feel the power as you believe it's stomping or punching or doing something. That this thing is large and heavy of some kind. Whatever it is vaguely quiet. It's not talking if it were able to talk. It's not making much other noise. And you do hear what sounds like rocks. The sound of boulders clanging and cracking together, as well as some metallic strains and some metallic snaps, like someone's ripping apart metal.
So it's metal. Great.
As you kind of line up looking straight perpendicular from the path down wherever this creature is, it's not hidden. This thing does not appear to be hiding. It is an obvious view past these trees, but it is just off the path. As far as you can tell, it does not know you are there.
Does it seem dangerous to us?
You're not sure. Would you like to roll another perception?
Yes, definitely.
Both of you, maybe? Or just Scathe?
Sure, yes.
Okay, go for it.
I got a 5.
Nope.
I got a 6.
Okay, Ivory, you're the only one, since it's the higher of the two. Let's say from your vantage point, maybe Scaith's got a branch in his way or something. He's just too tall. Ivory, you can tell, you believe you see whatever this thing is possibly made of stone. And you think you see it hurl a large, what looks like a large steel girder over its shoulder.
A large steel
Girder.
girder?
A large steel bar, a large metallic bind of some kind, a large chunk of metal, as it were.
So it seems to be trapped.
No, it's getting ready to throw something at us.
Oh,
No, as far as you can tell, this thing is still facing away from you. Like I said, you don't believe this thing even knows you're here.
okay. I just want to try and sneak around it and not be noticed.
Alright, you still kind of encroach from behind it, so not getting in front of it by any means. You get close enough to see that this large creature is made of rock. It towers tall, about the size of Ildred, but it is completely made of rock of some kind. It doesn't look like the same rock from the mountains. It looks more like this fresh rock, maybe something from under the ground of where you're at now, maybe some forest rock or something. It's got a little bit of hint of green to it, maybe moss or possibly even growth on it of some kind. And from your vantage point, a little bit closer, you can see this thing is ripping metal off of something. Large chunks of metal off of something, kind of piling it together. Scathe, you're standing back, still on the pathway.
Yeah, I'm very wary of this thing. I guess we should move forward and try and see what it is.
Scathe, you kind of join up next to Ivory, and you can tell the same, that this large rock being of some kind is pulling chunks of metal off of something in the ground. You're a little bit taller than Ivory, so you can see it's pulling metal off of something that is embedded in the ground. And there's another small figure on the other side of it. You can't quite make out because whatever this rock thing is in your way, it's kind of hiding it, but it sounds like it's clicking of some kind, like an insect would. Anyone have creature knowledge of any kind?
I will.
Both
I'm
of
a
you
dwarf. I know lots of creatures.
Both of you can try. D20.
6.
Okay.
I'll give it a shot. 16.
Alright. Ivory, you don't know. You know that thing's made of rock. That's about it. And that rock is probably from this area underground, not like a foreign rock or anything. Scathe, you can tell that this thing is either a golem or an elemental. Or even more out there, possibly something like the mage rockworms you've dealt with. But as far as you can tell, this thing looks a little bit small to have a person inside of it. And if it were, they'd be really fixated in there. So you believe it's either a golem or an elemental. As far as your knowledge goes, the only way to discern is if it can actually speak or if it's intelligent. You can also probably make out whatever that clicking is some sort of insect of some kind. And whatever this is just pulling chunks of metal off of something lodged in the ground and stacking just chunks of metal.
So my best guess is they're probably just a cleanup crew of some sort.
You're not sure. As far as your creature knowledge goes as well, you don't believe either an elemental or a golem to be aggressive unless provoked, obviously. You're unsure of whatever the other creature may be.
So let's try and just keep traveling past them.
What? Continue up the path? Forget them?
Yeah, continue up the path. They're not hurting us. What do we need to worry about them for?
Okay. Neither one of you have been... do you believe either one of you might have been in this area in your past adventures by any means?
I don't think I was.
Ivory, do you...
Not that I recall.
Okay. But it does... Something does strike you kind of odd that metal is not a very plethora thing out in the forest like this, so whatever that is may have been something out of place, but Skaith easily dismisses that as a cleanup crew, which is not a problem. You kind of leave the things to themselves and kind of continue down the path back to your destined landmark. You travel a little ways away until whatever that was would be plenty ways out of earshot and obviously out of sight. You are met with a part of the forest where all the trees look like they have been ripped from their tops. And as inspection goes, it looks like the trees to your right of the path have been broken at the very tops above the canopies, and the ones to your left on the path have been broken about midway down, like something came through here at an angle of some kind, and chopped them up or ground them, but they are not strict cuts. They look like they've been blown apart. Like as if something were hurled from the sky kind of deal.
Some sort of falling star, maybe?
I'm not sure. As far as you can tell, there are no singe or burn marks. It just looks like damaged destruction. And upon guessing trajectory, whatever that is led back to wherever that creature was. You guesstimate whatever's lodged in the ground might have been whatever tore through here, that it might have well come from the sky of some kind.
Well, at least we know where it came from. That at least gives reason to why there was metal there in the forest. Someone threw something. And they must be there cleaning it up.
Do you think we
So-
should check it out?
Well, like the letter that the statue said, it said trust no one. So I'm trying to avoid as many people as possible. So how much... Is the forest thick? How long do you think it would take us to travel through it?
The forest is pretty thick, but you believe maybe not more than an hour's walk at most to get there, but you're not quite sure of the steps of your map. But you're almost there, practically, as far as you can tell.
Okay, I suggest we keep pressing forward.
Alright. Before too long, you come to a fork in the path where the path leads to the right and to the left. There's no discernible sign of any kind, and each path looks pretty much the same. But there's an obvious choice to make.
Which is more worn?
They look about the same. As far as you can tell, there is no way to tell either path more used than the others.
Is there anything like this on our map?
On your map, there does not appear to be any discernible left or right path. It is kind of a straightforward path that winds around to the northwest towards Shomor. And you're pretty sure
Let's
you
try the
haven't
left path.
passed it either.
Yeah, let's try the left path.
Follow up the path to the left. You follow a few minutes. Some wildlife is still around the area. They've come back. Doesn't sound like whatever that was has been near this way. And you're met with another fork. Path to the left and another path to the right. Once again,
Let's
the
go to the
same
right
scenario. You
I agree with Ivory. We're heading right this time.
Okay, you follow to the right. You begin to see some large footprints, or large indentations. Can only be shaped like footprints, but they do not appear to have toes, just large indentations that follow a footprint-like pattern. And they're very spaced wide, but they cut directly perpendicular across the path.
Do we notice anything odd about these footprints, like where they're going?
As far as you can tell, they look like they're kind of winding their way off towards the left, maybe in the direction wherever that creature was, like it passed through here earlier or something. You believe a creature that large probably leaves footprints like this.
Okay. Let's still head right.
Continue down the path. Another good ways or two, and you're basically have to duck down out of nowhere as a flock of birds come swarming down the path in a panic, just over your heads, chittering and chattering just past you, as you now begin to hear large footsteps kind of approaching down the path.
Let's just duck into the bushes off the path and see what happens.
Scathe, what side do you go to?
I duck in the bushes with my friend Escape.
Okay, you both kind of duck off to... Well, which side? The right or the left of the path?
You're right.
Okay, you both duck off to the right, just out of sight. As, sure enough, you look down the path and there is a large rock creature kind of walking down this path. It appears to have a large object hurled over its shoulder. It's still a little ways away, you can't quite tell what it is, but it appears to be walking straight down the path, not through the woods.
Alright.
Can we tell what it has over its shoulder?
You kind of hunker down a little bit and just wait for this thing to pass or get close or figure out what it's going to do. This thing gets close enough, you realize now that it is made of rock. It does not have any discernible face, which is characteristic of a golem. So you believe it might be an elemental. And this thing lumbers down close enough to realize that half of its body is made of a green gem of some kind, possibly emerald. Part of its arm is, a portion of its head, it's got a large chunk in its chest. And it's just kind of lumbering down the path. As it gets close enough, you realize it's got a large pod, a metallic pod that appears to be gold, silver, very imbued, but looks very torn apart on its shoulder. Anything?
Mm,
Can we roll perception?
Yes, you two should definitely know what this is.
I got a 7.
I got a 17. Whoop whoop.
Alright, Ivory, you're the first one to realize it, but this is the escape pod thing that your Blue Rock Maz's Dark Thunder guy escaped in from that clockwork construct.
Crap.
This rock creature has it hurled on its shoulder and is walking down the path with it.
Is there any sign of our little guy?
Who,
It's probably
Mazes?
in the pod.
You didn't really get a good look as this thing was well up into the air before you noticed he was even gone. But upon a kind of a quick glance over there, only appears to be one little window, like a section in the pod, an indentation of some kind, and it appears to be empty. This thing looks somewhat smashed up and has some parts seemingly ripped off of it. At this point, this thing is practically right in front of where you guys are hiding in the path.
Should we follow it?
I say we follow it.
Okay, we follow it.
You stay far enough behind so this thing doesn't notice you, and it lumbers down the path a little bit more until you start getting the feeling it's going back to wherever that other creature was, if it was the same creature or if it were a different creature. So at this point, you're backtracking. You follow this thing past the debris destruction of the trees. It stops dead in the path where the destruction is, turns towards the declining destruction, and follows the path of destruction into the woods.
I guess we're following them again.
Both of you roll stealth. Roll a d20 for stealth.
I got 16.
Ivory, I'm going to give you a disadvantage because you're wearing heavy armor. What'd you get?
I got 14.
Okay. Close. You can't really tell who, but one of you steps on a sizable little branch and snaps it in half. Neither one of you knew who it was, but you instantly freeze and hide as best you can. The creature kind of lazily wheels its top half around in the direction you guys were at. As best as you can tell, it looks around, pauses a moment, takes this pod off of its shoulder, plants it down in the ground, just sets it down in the middle of the path, and continues onward with the destruction. Back into the forest.
So the pod is now left alone, right?
The pod is in the path, right there, around you guys.
Let's wait until he moves a little bit, or keeps going a bit.
He seems to leave the pod behind as he continues onward into the direction where you spotted the other creature.
Let's try and take a look at the pod.
Okay, roll a general perception and then tell me what you're looking for, if anything specific.
Like a way to get into it and see what's in there, and I got a 15.
Okay.
Can I just smash it open?
You can if you would like.
I would like to try and just smash it open.
Okay, roll it.
I got a 17.
Alright, Skaith, you start looking this thing over. It appears to be about as tall as you, about the size of a, humanoid, but it does not really look like someone could really fit in it. It's very small, almost just like a single rocket pod kind of deal. It's still just the same clockwork gold and silver, but it looks very tarnished. Part of the side and you're immediately obstructed as your dwarven friend pushes past you, brings her hammer down, and just cracks this thing open like an egg. The entire thing splits in two as it just perfect as ever and falls apart. The insides are nothing more than clockwork. There is no inside compartment. As far as you can tell, this thing was already beaten up, as it were. Skaith, you quickly try to look over what you think you were trying to get from it, as this thing was cracked in half. That there is what appears to be impact damage on one side, and that little cavity looks about the size of what Mazes' stone was.
Okay, so this is to carry that stone back. It's probably a life capsule to keep him alive. Can we sabotage it, or has cracking it in half already sabotaged it?
You believe it's good and broken now. There are gears flown everywhere. This thing is probably not up and running anytime soon.
Good job.
Yay!
And now we should run.
At,
Probably.
at which point the creature does appear, at least the sound-wise, to be heading back towards the pod. As you've just
we
split
both-
this thing.
We run like the Dickens.
You continue down the path as fast as you can. Make it well out of earshot and vision of wherever the pod was smashed. Back to essentially where you found the initial footprints.
Alrighty.